let's do that in two. Squeaky, Ford at the airport, bounce. Now, we're using a map.
There is only one way I can start this video, and that's I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Let's talk about Network from 1976, directed by Sidney Lumet, and written by Paddy Chayefsky, starring Peter Finch, Faye Dunaway, William Holden, and Robert Duvall. And this is the first part of my two-part thematically linked film thing. The other one for next week is the later chronologically. It was released much more recently, and that's why I've done it that way around, even though I actually saw that one first. But if I'd have seen this at about the same time as I saw that, I'd have probably struggled to get through it if I had to come to this later in life. Even critics of the time were saying that there's a few sort of ranty, shouty monologues, and there's pieces that are a bit overly written, as in, you could have got away with the same impact with less words. It is 2 hours and sometimes feels like that, and I say that as someone who appreciates it. But I think if you can get through it, there is a lot here that you should probably listen to and take away. But I appreciate from the start we have this relationship between Max and Howard. They are clearly good friends. Of course, before Max tells Howard he's fired, and this is his 2 week notice. But that leads to then Howard going on the air and saying, well, ratings was the reason I'm fired, so if you really want ratings, I will come on, I think he said come on stream, I will come on air next week and just end my own life. So, tune in, folks. He swears a bit as well, but no one in the control room says anything. No one bats an eyelid until the break. And everyone's like, did you hear what he said? The complaints that come in from the viewers, no one complains about the thing he said he's going to do. They complain about the language. I'd like to say we're better than this now, but we can show, mostly on the news before a certain time, but we can show all kinds of violence and awful stuff. The minute you show a bit of skin or swear too much, that's when the complaints roll in. We're not that different, let's be honest. But of course, he goes back in and eventually has this psychotic break. The scene where we see him lying in bed talking to a voice that only he can hear is the moment this film really picks up. And again, that does come relatively late on. I will still concede that as someone who likes this film. But from that moment, that's when all of the meat of the film really comes in. That was all set up to get us to understand where Howard, where all the major players are at in this film. And then they realise that this unhinged version of Howard isn't a liability, it's actually quite entertaining. People are tuning into this, people are reacting to it, the ratings are rising, because that's all that matters. Selling the ad space. My first thought with this sort of revelation was it's very much like the insert your country name here Idol shows, where you'll have someone like Simon Cowell or your local equivalent, and some washed up producers and musicians for the most part. There are some who are still working and just do it just to, I don't know, kill some time, I don't know. But they'll have all these people, and some are good, but there is a non-insignificant number of people who are clearly not aware that they're being laughed at, not with. There are people who are mentally unwell and no one is fact-checking them to say, you're actually tone deaf. And they're just paraded around for entertainment. Of course, even before that though, think about things like Jerry Springer or Trish over here or Jeremy Kyle. Those are exactly the same. These are people vulnerable, not in their best state of mind, or, worried about certain things, thinking that their partner's cheating on them, whatever it might be, paraded around for entertainment, these personal stories that I think should stay personal for the most part, obviously within a close circle of friends. But basically just this large-scale gossip, which okays, like the whole celebrity thing, but I don't like that either, so... But that's thematically similar. Also, we have 15 Million Merits, the Black Mirror episode, which I wouldn't be surprised if Charlie Brooker took inspiration from this. I may have read that somewhere. It might be why that fact felt natural to me, or that idea, that conclusion. But even there, we have someone who's like, yep, I'm in the system, and then as soon as it's like, oh, the system does not work for me, goes on this rant, threatens to end his life, and it's like, hey, do this for money. Do this so that we can channel people's rage at the status quo in a healthy way, so that they'll do that, feel they've had that catharsis, and then they can carry on their lives and consume. It's thematically linked to a lot of things, and like I say, next week's. And that's why I think this is still worth watching. We have, in a line that annoyed me because it was, again, that overly written, it was repeated so many times in one scene, An angry prophet denouncing the hypocrisies of our times. That's the core of this. That's what Howard is. That's what next week's subject is. That's what Daniel Kaluuya's character in 15 Million Merits is. And that is why this film is worth watching. But Faye Dunaway does such a good job in this film as well. You know, I've talked so much about Peter Finch as Howard, and I should do. That is the core. He is the main focus of the film. But Dunaway's performance is so good here because Diana doesn't really have a lot of emotional range. Let's be honest. But still, the small swings that she does as this woman who can't do anything in life but her job. That's all she's good at. She's a workaholic because that's all she can be. She doesn't have feelings in the same way, or doesn't outwardly express them in the same way. I'm sure she does, but Dunaway's sort of understated performance, I guess, in some ways, does sell that so well. But this is a character who makes deals with terrorists, so, you know, let's not dwell too much on Diana's character. But one of the other standout moments, really, and considering it's only, I think, less than 6 minutes, Beatrice Straight as Louise Schumacher in the scene where Max opens up to his infidelity with Diana. She gives him an opportunity. She said, "Max, just tell me that you don't love her." And he's like, I can't say that. The emotional weight, the emotional impact of Straight's performance in that scene, like I said, this is pretty much her main bit of the film. She's barely in it apart from this tiny section, and she stamps her mark on it. Same with Ned Beatty, though, when he mimics the voice that Howard's been hearing. That is such a very powerful performance. Of course, someone like Ned Beatty would expect that. But again, he's in for like 6 minutes or so himself. It's a very minor part, but it's impactful. That's something that this film does really well. Lumet and whoever helped with the casting did such a good job of going, this person is right for the role, because everyone here feels that they are right for the role. But just skipping back to that Ned Beatty scene, because of course he's replicating this voice, not a voice of God. Howard does not think it's God, but this commanding presence, I guess, to subvert the message, because Howard heard that the station was going to be sold to Saudi interests, or they were going to take a big financial boost from them, and of course that is a good thing for the station. So how do we stop Howard undoing that? So of course he's in the boardroom and this voice is used, and it's like, no, that's not a bad thing. Capitalism is a good thing. It's your best friend. Finance is your new god. Do you think the Russians are talking about nuking the states or anything? No, they're talking about money. Saudis are talking about money. Everyone's talking about money, because that's what matters. The world runs on this. We will feed you, clothe you, house you. The world will be as one. There are no nations. That's just an outdated notion. We are all one. You will buy, you will consume, you will be safe and sated, and we will live fat off the teat. Because that is the message he wants. And of course, when that goes out, that's not Howard. And everything goes very wrong, and then an assassination attempt is ordered. And successful one, should I say. And yeah, killing a man for ratings feels like it should be some awful concept that would never exist, but with some of the stuff we've seen, is it really that far outside the realms of possibility? I don't think so. I think only, sort of human rights charters and things like that stop this from ever being a thing. But that's it. This is not a new thing. This is nearly 50 years old. The message here is still valid and vital today. There's a whole thing where he talks about, people are just hooked up to this tube. That's all that comes in. That, they live, their personalities are shaped by the tube. If you swap the tube to the internet, is it really that different? People are shaped. I hear children in this country talking with a slightly American accent, saying like, comment, and subscribe, as just a, way of saying bye. You hear of like young children doing it, like toddlers, who, yes, mimicry is a big part of development, fine. But that's it. People are just shaped by the internet, the tube. So maybe it's not that unusual. Maybe Hackett is more like Elon Musk here than we think. A guy who's inherited something that he didn't actually make and is running it into the ground by making terrible decisions. This film still has a message. We still need to listen to it. And yeah, we should all take heart of Howard's words.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
Be mad as hell. Don't take it anymore. Because we matter. It's not all about the money, the finance. It's about humanity. So next week we're going to pick up the kind of thematic thread and have a man who also snaps and just wants to go and see his child. I think I've keyed into what it might be. But I hope you'll join me for that. And until next time, as always, thank you for watching and take care.